The Lawrence family's manor was one of the oldest residential manors in Southampton City. It was located at the heart of the city and every inch of the manor was worth a lot. The manor's front was surrounded by man-made hills and rivers, and deeper inside was a little jungle with plenty of lush. The building itself preserves the traditional design of Southampton, simple and elegant. It made the place look like an oasis in the concrete jungle. After a quiet path, the main building of the manor appeared before them. The tall gate with grand design did not capture Jean's attention at all. She walked inside with George without pause. Several elegant ladies were chatting at the couch in the living hall. Jean's arrival silenced them immediately. One of the ladies scoffed. "Oh look, what do we have here? Isn't this the princess of the Lawrence family?" "Oh, excuse me, ex-princess." Jean grinned and was not bothered by the comments. "Look at that, she even has a kid of her own. I thought it was just the rumors but it seems like she had a son while drifting abroad and she's not even married." "I feel ashamed for her," said the other lady with a giggle. The ladies started to mock Jean as the lady in the center got up. She was in a traditional outfit and despite being in her 50s, she maintained her body perfectly. She walked closer to Jean and wore a warm and welcoming face. "Jean, you're finally back. Your father is waiting for your return." The woman was Jean's so-called stepmom. The woman Alexander had an affair with during his marriage. Jennifer always looked innocent and harmless in front of others but in the dark, she had been doing all kinds of things to hurt others. Jean grinned. "Jennifer, you don't have to do this now. I clearly remember you're also one of them who threw me out of the house back then." Jennifer felt embarrassed for a moment. She knew Jean had been a feisty girl since day one and she thought the girl would have learned her lesson after so many years. To her surprise, the feisty temper remained and it seemed like she was back for more. She smiled calmly and said, "It was your father's decision. But, you know what they say, blood is thicker than water. It's great to have you back." "Yeah, whatever you say." Jean grinned. Jennifer was good at masking dissension with her nonchalant attitude. Every problem would be nothing in front of her. She quickly called one of the servants over. "Maria, bring Jean's luggage to her room. Master Lawrence is waiting for her. Bring her to the master's room after you've settled her down." She sounded soft but her words meant otherwise. Maria came over. "Yes, madam." Maria then led Jean upstairs. As Jean walked up the stairs, she could still hear the other ladies mocking her behind her back. "Jennifer, you shouldn't be this nice to that girl. She's rude, shameless, and ridiculous. You shouldn't let her set foot into this manor anymore. I feel bad for Master Lawrence for having such a rude daughter. I know she's been a rude and feisty girl since young. She's jealous of people's achievements. When she learned that your daughter has gotten together with Eden, she even said that she'll marry the fourth master of the Swans, so that Eden must call her aunt when they meet. Why would fourth Master Swan marry someone like her? Come on, ladies, she was just a child back then." Jennifer stopped her friends from talking about Jean so that it would make her look generous and forgiving. It was then someone came through the entrance with a clear voice. "Mom, Eden and I are back." "Eden." Jean's feet froze for a moment and George noticed the pause on his mother. Jean ruffled her son's curly hair and continued walking. Back at the living hall, the young couple came in and greeted the ladies. It was Jasmine and her fiancé, Eden. They looked perfect for each other and they were quite popular among the high society of Southampton for being well-known lovebirds. Having Jasmine's hands curled around his own, Eden had a glance at the stairs and he saw a familiar figure. Jasmine noticed Eden's reaction and looked in the same direction. The look on her face changed swiftly when she recognized the woman. She said out loud, "Is sis back?" Jennifer nodded. "Go say hi to your sister later." "Okay." Jasmine nodded obediently but deep down, ill thoughts were brewing. She believed Jean had no idea why she was summoned back to the Lawrence family after 7 years. After Jean settled down her luggage, she told George to wait for her while she visited Master Lawrence's room. Master Lawrence, or Jonathan Lawrence, was the leader of the family and Jean's grandfather. Jonathan was bound to a wheelchair and had to spend most of his time in his room. He suffered a stroke 3 years ago and it left his lower body paralyzed. Jean did not know if it was karma or not but she wanted it to be. To her, she believed God was having mercy on her grandfather. She went into the room and saw Jonathan being pushed inside from the balcony by his personal servant. "You're back." Jonathan's voice sounded aged. Jean nodded. "Come to the study. I have something to discuss with you." Jean watched as the servant pushed the man into the spacious study. From the moment they met, it did not feel like a family reunion after so many years. It felt more like two strangers discussing business, or worse, enemies negotiating. Jean sat opposite Jonathan. Jonathan said, "You've been abroad for many years. It's time to settle down." "Yes." Jean nodded. She somehow was able to hold back her grudge at the man and did not voice her mind, saying that it was him and his family that threw her out of the manor 7 years ago. She had to maintain the least amount of respect for the man because he was the one in charge, the king that governed over his kingdom. She was no longer the young girl who believed she could take on the entire world without any consequences. "You're getting older. Your sister is getting married, so I believe it's time for you to think about where you want to settle down. So, you called me back not because you want me to see you for the last time but you want me to get married. I'm still alive and kicking. You don't need to worry about that." Jonathan wore a gloomy look. Jean smirked. Jonathan added, "The second son of the Locke family, Thegis. He's 5 years older than you and he used to be busy with his career and neglected his duties to his family. He's 30 years old this year and I've talked terms with them. You'll meet him tomorrow and you guys can start seeing each other before the wedding." Jean scoffed. "Career? I think you mean Thegis just got released because he caused someone's death a few years ago, right? There are so many rich girls in Southampton but no one wants to marry him. The past is the past now. He doesn't mind that you have a child and you're lucky enough to have this wedding arranged for you. Learn to be grateful," Jonathan said sternly. Grateful? The man wanted her to marry a criminal and she had to be grateful about it. "If you've already talked to the Locke family, I'll just go along with it," she said. "It's great that you agree. However, grandfather, I heard that Lauren's family is having some financial problems lately. I wonder how much the Locke family has given you." Jonathan reacted bitterly to her questioning. "I'm just asking, trying to find out how much I'm worth. You should be grateful that I summoned you back for the wedding. I didn't summon you back to question my arrangement for you." "You're right, grandfather," Jean said. Her lips curled into a sharp grin that made her beautiful face menacing.